Hello everyone, so we're going to try to do this in one video, but we're going to take a break from all of the winter weather stuff that's been going on, the blizzard in Cape Cod and down East Maine. It's currently leaving, it's going through Canada right now. Atlantic Canada is getting whacked right now with heavy snow. It's kind of ridiculous up there. There was a wind gust reported of up to 114 miles per hour. I believe. I forget where that was, but I saw that there was a wind gust of up to 114 miles per hour. You know, this storm is really, it's like a hurricane, basically. Like, that's how strong, like, it even looks like a hurricane. Before the video's over, I'll show you. But we're going to take a break from that, and we're actually going to talk about the threat for severe thunderstorms tomorrow across portions of the Midwest and South. Associated with our next disturbance that we're going to be watching that's going to be coming through. So, right now we're looking at California because there's been some severe storms here as well. You've had some, southwest flow, Ooh, I had to think about that for a second, coming in and causing some lift along the mountains here, and you get some thunderstorms to form when you have lift in the atmosphere, rising air. And there was actually a tornado reported around here in Chico. And there was also a tornado reported by Sacramento. If I can find it on this map, I don't see it. But there was a couple of tornadoes, a couple of funnel clouds. So, that's interesting there. So, we want to look at that disturbance, though. This is currently what it looks like. This is the American model. This is your shortwave that's going to be coming in. Currently, your area of low pressure is right here. It's across northeastern Colorado, northwestern Oklahoma, and we're already at 988 millibars, so this is a powerful upper-level system. What was I going to say? This is at 1 a.m., where it's going to be at 1 a.m., so it's pretty close to where we are right now. But look at how far back this piece of energy extends. It goes all the way back up into the Pacific Northwest. You have another area of low pressure over here, and this whole thing brought thunderstorms down to California. And so then you have this shortwave here, powerful upper-level disturbance that's going to be moving east throughout the day. It's actually going to separate from this northwestern piece here, and it's actually going to become very potent throughout the day tomorrow as it moves across, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Kansas here, and then further east towards Missouri, and Arkansas, I believe that is, and Illinois. Geez, these states really get me. Alright, so let's keep going here. So this is your low pressure. Now, what this low pressure has on the underneath it here, whenever you have a low pressure up here, and whenever I tell you there's severe weather on the southeastern side, what does that mean it has to be dragging through? A cold air mass. So there is a cold front along the southern end of this low here. Cold, dry air. Right? You're going to have a dry line forming because you have cold air coming down from the north there. And then it's also pulling in dry air from the desert. So together you get a dry air mass. So you have a dry line forming and you have a cold front here. And then you're going to have moisture coming in from the Gulf. So you get warm, moist air coming in contact with the cold, dry air mass. That's going to force the warm, moist air to rise into the higher levels of the atmosphere. You get clouds to form. There's instability, which we'll get into in a little while. And that creates thunderstorms. Okay? So, here we go. We're going to move along here on our American model. So, by 7 a.m. tomorrow, I believe that's 7 a.m., this is 7 p.m., 1 a.m. Yeah, this is 7 a.m. Take a look at this shortwave now. It's pretty potent. You can see this dark area of red here. That means there's a lot of spin in the atmosphere associated with the low. So there's a lot of what we call vorticity. That's a lot of spin in the atmosphere, and what that does is it helps to aid in lift, rising air. That's what it helps to do. And so I would say by early morning. Well, actually, there's already showers developing across this area here now. Across, I think that's Missouri, thank you, Alabama, and eastern areas of Nebraska and Oklahoma, there's already an area of showers developing associated with this shortwave upper-level disturbance coming through. And by the morning, I think there's going to be more of them reforming back here and possibly some severe thunderstorms. Okay? So this is going to be moving east. Now, one of the main ingredients that you need for severe weather is what we call a low-level jet. And what a low-level jet is, it's in the lower levels of the atmosphere when you get intense areas of vorticity like you're seeing with this shortwave. What happens is you get a really an elongated area of strong winds out ahead of it in the lower areas of the atmosphere associated with all that spin. And that's what we call low-level jets. So you get an area of winds in the lower levels of the atmosphere, and what that does is, I'll show you now. Let me show you the low-level jet. Whoops, that's way too far ahead. Here it is. I forget. This is going to be tomorrow afternoon. Your area of low pressure, this is the European model, is right here. So that means your shortwave is back. Your shortwave trough is back in here. Back up there. And then out ahead of it, because you have all that vorticity spin in the atmosphere, look at this. This is your low-level jet. It's an area of strong winds. These winds are up to 70 miles per hour. In the lower atmosphere, 60 to 70 miles per hour, especially across Missouri. Check this out. And then extending back down into Alabama, eastern Kansas, and northeastern Texas, you have the low-level jet of up to 60 miles per hour, and up into here up to 70, 75 miles per hour. So what that does is, one, you see how the arrows are coming up from the Gulf here? So they're coming back down here, and then they're pointing up, back up north. So what the low-level jet does is it helps absorb moisture from the Gulf back up into the Midwest here, and number one, that aids in the warm moist rising air above the cold dry air coming in, and also it helps with instability in the atmosphere, which again is basically rising air lift. So it increases instability by dragging this moisture in. And that aids in the development of thunderstorms, definitely. Whenever you have a low-level jet, there's a very good chance of getting severe weather. Definitely. There's really not a good chance of severe weather if you don't have a low-level jet. That's just how it is. By the way, since you have an area of strong upper-level low over here, this would be a cyclone-induced low-level jet. Okay? So, what was I going to say? Oh, the other thing the low-level jet does, you have strong area of vorticity on the southeastern side. So together, that with the low-level jet increases spin in the lower levels of the atmosphere. So that's going to aid the development of what we call a rotating updraft, meaning the rising air is going to spin around in what we call a mesocyclone. That is that powerhouse of a thunderstorm. And so that moisture is going to be going up through the atmosphere, spinning around and forming your thunderstorm. So that's going to help with the development of supercells out ahead of the cold front. Supercell thunderstorms that will be capable of, I think, producing some tornadoes, especially in the areas where this low-level jet is prevalent, like Missouri, Alabama, Oklahoma, and northeastern Texas, this area here. I think you're going to have to watch out for some isolated tornadoes tomorrow. And the other thing is, if you have rising air like that, you're going to get clouds going high into the atmosphere where it's very cold. So you're going to have to watch out for some hail, too, in these areas tomorrow. So that's another threat. And then damaging winds, indeed, over 60 miles per hour. That is another threat. Now, so we've established that there is a chance of tornadoes because when you have the low-level jet coming in, bringing in the strong winds, that increases spin and rotation in the atmosphere. So you're going to get storms to rotate. The supercells are going to start to rotate, and that indeed will create some tornadoes. That's number one. Number two, we have damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour possible. Look at this strong area of winds. Obviously, the low-level jet's going to help that. And then, since there's going to be high vorticity, the clouds are going to rise very high into the atmosphere. You're going to get some hail as well, because the clouds are going to go high into the atmosphere. And the other thing here that's going to aid... Let's go to... Here we go. This is your precipitation map, by the way, for 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, you have strong area of storms down here. And then you still have some storms back in here, but they're producing less heavy rain. I'll get to that, why that's happening in a minute. But the other thing I want to show you here, the other thing you need for severe storms to develop is you need shear. Wind shear is, and obviously there's going to be very potent shear, because get this, the low-level jet, the vorticity max coming together to create the rotating winds in the upper atmosphere. What shear is different wind speeds at different levels in the atmosphere going in different directions. So it's basically the low-level jet and vorticity coming together. And if you look right now across northwestern, I think, again, that's Alabama, Missouri, and northeastern Oklahoma and Texas, you have shear in excess of 50 to 70 knots. That is a lot of shear. That is really good if you want severe thunderstorms in those areas tomorrow. That shear is going to be huge. So again, that's going to aid in the development of some supercell storms tomorrow in these areas. And then, so again, and damaging winds. That'll help with the damaging winds as well. Now, the other thing you need is you need surface-based CAPE, convective available potential energy. Now, the only reservation I have about severe weather in those areas I was talking about over here is that, you know, we just had a cold air mass come through the last couple days. It's not going to warm up till, you know, tomorrow in these areas. And there's not a lot of instability coming off the surface. So I do think there's definitely a good chance of severe weather. But my thinking is, at least in these areas here, they're going to be elevated supercells. I don't think they're going to be surface-based. There's not enough there's not enough instability coming off the ground. So I think, though, if you do get storms down in Louisiana and eastern Texas and maybe even southern, I think that's actually Arkansas. I'm sorry. Man, I cannot get my states right. I think I've been calling this Alabama. I apologize. Southern Arkansas. I think since you have more convective available potential energy down there, and then it comes back north a little bit, you would have some surface-based supercells, perhaps. So yeah, that's pretty good. But so all these conditions that I'm talking about are coming together tomorrow. And if you want to look at your normal precipitation map here, here's your area of low pressure. Your cold front is going to be draping back. You have a dry line because you have dry air back here, warm, moist air coming up here, as per the low-level jet. And you get your severe thunderstorms. That's basically it. Okay. Now, overnight, and alright, so before I get to that, let's just talk about one other thing here. So this low-level jet, you see that's bringing in moisture. Now, it might be hard for potent moisture, like ample moisture, to come that far north. It will get there, but your main threat for heavy rain and flooding is going to be in the southern areas here, southeastern Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. You're going to have drenching thunderstorms there. So I think your threat for severe weather is less down here because the potent low-level jet is mainly to the north, but you will definitely get some strong storms down here with the potential for some heavier rain, some flooding. I think you could see some damaging winds and hail as well. But that'll mainly be to the north. I really think the tornado threat is also to the north as well. Okay? So that's that. Now, when you get overnight, these dynamics start to kind of fall apart. And what happens then is you get a squall, what we call a squall line to form out ahead of the front. A squall line of thunderstorms. And I think that the threat for that is going to be across Mississippi, eastern Louisiana, eastern Arkansas, eastern Missouri, maybe up into southwestern Illinois, southeastern Iowa, and then extending back down into western Tennessee, western Kentucky, and then maybe western, I'm sorry, this is Louisiana, western Alabama. No, this is Alabama, this is Mississippi, and this is, never mind. So I showed you my threat area. I need to know my states better. I apologize. So in the next video, I'll go over my threat map for severe weather, and I'll talk about where severe weather could show up on Friday. Okay, and then we'll be done for tonight.